Colleagues, good afternoon. Can you hear me? The topic of my presentation is legal aspects of monitoring of office employees' activities at their workplaces. Why is it important? In recent times, due to the resolutions of the government and other regulators, very many employees are moved to teleworking, and it's becoming much more difficult to oversee the work of such employees because they become involved. But first, a few words about my company. We are called Atom Безопасность, Atom Security International. We are known under the brand Stavkop because this is the name of our product. For example, we can substitute standard utilities on Windows or Linux and block computers if users fail to do something right in real time. There are also systems to monitor users that collect events. They include programs like Stahanovitz and others, including our Stavkop Enterprise. When I'm asked, what kind of data can your software collect? I usually start kidding, saying they are F data. And it's not a joke or exaggeration. Well, in fact, Stavkop software agent works on behalf of the administrator, while in Linux or Mac OS, it has the rights of local administrator and can collect all kinds of data, starting from hardware codes and all the way down to intercepting file copying operations. Let's assume we have such a solution, the pretty powerful one, with a CN system on top and two systems in the bottom, some CLP and some user monitoring system named StaffCop. So the question is, how can we deploy such systems and have them implemented in a proper way? So what does our legislation say? Article 23 of the Constitution of the Russian Federation says that every individual has the right to privacy, protection of personal life, secrecy of correspondence, telephone conversations, and so forth. And this right can only be limited based on a court decision. Article 138 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation provides for very serious punishment for violation of this law, which punishment includes a huge and hefty fine in combination with public work. It is these provisions that are used by those who say that no monitoring tools may be installed on computers because they violate privacy, they are about interfering in private life, and so forth. I'm going to show you now that this is not the case and there is no violation at all. And we remember Article 1470 of the Civil Code that says that the exclusive right of production secrets related to the creation by an employee of products belongs to the employer. We can say, dear employee, the workstation you're using does not belong to you. The work that you are doing is not your private work. It is the property of the employer. All the files created by you on this computer, they can be audio files or video files or text files, belong to the employer. If you wish to send messages to your wife or your lover or whoever, you should use your personal computer for that. You don't have the right to use your work computer. And now everything is okay. All the information on the work computer does not belong to the employee. If it is there, it is a violation. However, we all know how difficult it may be to change the culture of our employees. Anyway, every time you deploy such software, you should put in place regulations saying that no private data may be stored on a work computer. Once your employee have subscribed to it, you can use all kinds of monitoring software products, let it be StaffCop or Stakhanovets, and they become 100% legitimate. Let's summarize. There must be clear-cut delineation of private and not private data. All work computers may only be used for work data, and the owner of such data is the employer, not the individual. No personal correspondence may be carried out with the use of a work computer. Another important point that normally calms down all employees is the fact that in 99% of organizations, all business correspondence goes via proper offices, which means that all the correspondence is monitored by security personnel, and that's okay. And this document is normally a very good argument against all kinds of dissidents. For monitoring solutions to be legitimate, there must be regulations in place developed by security departments and approved by a special order of the leader of the organization. Moreover, all the employees must be aware of those regulations. They must be disclosed and signed by employees. Should this be the case, you as an employer can use all kinds of monitoring tools, and it will be legal and legitimate. And this is what amplifies the information that I have just gave you. The security department should disclose all the rules to the employees, including the rules of monitoring, what activities will be monitored, what data will be collected, how it will be done, when, by what departments. Most importantly, it is necessary to include in the contract or a collective contract, if there is a union. If there is no union, such provision must be included in each and every employment contract, saying that the employer has the right to monitor the equipment provided to the employee, including with the use of software and other technologies. In doing so, we make our employee aware of the fact that we are not monitoring the employer, but the equipment, to be sure that the employer's equipment is not used to do any harm to the organization. We make the employee responsible for this equipment, and no court will be able to rule against it. If we provide an employee with a smartphone, it will be a bit difficult to do monitoring because not all smartphones support it. I suggest that you provide your employees with service phones because monitoring of a personal telephone is only possible if the employee agrees. And very few employees will agree to have their smartphones, their phones monitored. Which brings me to the second major section of my presentation, my analysis. It is different options of using equipment remotely by teleworkers. I'll be brief. In fact, there are three ways to use such equipment. Option one, and it's used quite often. For some reason, employers believe that it is the simplest approach. You just give your office equipment to your employee for him or her to start using it at home. It may appear pretty simple, but there are logistical issues. Not everyone has a personal vehicle to transport this equipment. It's used nevertheless. And office equipment is provided to the employee on a temporary basis. The biggest advantage here is that the employee will be working in an environment he or she is used to, using the same equipment and applications. It looks plain and simple. The employee signs for using this equipment on a temporary basis. All the equipment carries serial numbers which are specified in takeover, passover reports, and all the monitoring solutions like StaffCop will help you to see what your employee is doing with the use of this working station. The backbone equipment is still in the office. Your employees get connected via VPN and they work. Our software helps to identify illegitimate actions by your employees. I'll give you an example. An employee was provided with a laptop, a good laptop with an SSD of 250 gigabytes. However, the employee was smart ass. He found a hard drive for 250 gig. By using Acronis, he copied the SSD to the hard drive and then replaced the SSD staff cop, detected the replacement, and informed the security. Everything was okay with the computer. Just the hard drive was replaced. Of course, that employee was fired. And everything was pretty legal because the employee had signed his agreement for the use of monitoring software on his machine. Another approach, I like it much better. Although it requires quite a lot of resources on the part of the company. However, it is very convenient because it provides for centralized monitoring. Working at home, employees use their personal computers. Their office workstations are in the office and they are off, which means that they don't have access to them from their home computers. The employees use terminal servers or several servers. For example, one for marketing, another one for development, one more for logistics, supplies, and so on and so forth. All monitoring tools are installed in the office. They collect data and forward those data to the server of the security unit. With this approach, monitoring tools can only be installed on the servers, which does not require any agreement on the part of employee. If you want to have anything installed on your employees' equipment, you will require such an agreement on their part, and very few people will agree. So I do not encourage you to use this option. This option too is pretty good technology-wise and law-wise, and I recommend it for most cases. Of course, it has its disadvantages, requiring additional resources. There are additional costs related to support. However, it will be compensated for by having a single control center and data collection center. And the simplicity of control is really important. Finally, option 3. The employees only use their own computers. All the office workstations are off, and there is no connectivity with the office. And all the information exchange is via email. Of course, monitoring tools can be installed on personal computers, but only if the employees agree. Well, in fact, I don't recommend using option 3 in any situation because it does not provide for having a control center, a monitoring center. On the other hand, it is the cheapest one, and the majority of organizations, or at least one half, use this option. However, when it comes to accounting for work time or supervising employees, monitoring what they are doing, well, this is out of the question, which makes companies to switch to option 1 or 2. And my favorite one is option 2, the one that I recommend. It provides using terminal server and Microsoft RDP protocol. There is a single data collection center and analysis center. Personal computers of your employees are still their personal computers, and the terminal server is fully controlled by ourselves. If you need to transfer any data from your memory sticks, it can be done via RDP. And again, this option too, it's really great from the perspective of technology and from the perspective of law. That's why I recommend it. Last but not least, peculiarities in the organization of security officers' work amid teleworking. We can discuss in this context both option 1 and option 2. With option 1, your security personnel must make sure that none of the workstations transferred to your employees contains any information on hard drives that is trade secret. If you remember, in the very beginning, I said how important it is to make your employees sign for having familiarized themselves with regulations. Prior to transferring workstations to employees, your security personnel must check all of them. Without IT support, it's not possible. And again, StaffCop can be really helpful. The most recent version of this product has a scanner file which allows searching by dictionary to identify all the information on your employees' workstations. With this, prior to transferring the equipment to your employees, you can check all the data on those machines to identify data that may not be stored on hard drives in no circumstances. Last but not least, as early as in the ancient Greece, the question was posed: who should be in charge of the security of those who are providing security? Your security personnel must have very high level of integrity. This is the most important thing. Well, in fact, the data collected from workstations can vary. It can be commercial data or personal data, although this should never be the case. It's not allowed, but it happens. And I would like to share a case with you. It happened in a friendly company that uses StaffCop. It was used to put all the memory sticks in the read-only mode. If you want to listen to music, it's okay, but you cannot transfer any data. What happened was the following. One employee brought his own memory stick with music. However, this memory stick also contained personal data, some images. The employee inserted this memory stick in the computer. It was analyzed, and the data was moved to the StaffCop server. It might be okay. However, the security personnel spread the word about the images on the memory stick, and the employee was forced to resign, along with two other female employees. after which the entire security department was fired. This was a real-life example. All of them had signed a non-disclosure agreement. However, they infringed that agreement. Colleagues, I would like to ask you about something. I highly recommend that you keep control of your security personnel. They know more than you do. They don't only know how to collect data, they also know how to analyze it. They must be credible. Their level of integrity must be high. And there is the legal aspect, and it's still in place. Well, that is actually everything. I mentioned all the hidden agenda, all the issues related to monitoring of teleworkers. I suggested specific solutions, specific options. I wish you just one thing: stay safe and work in a secure mode, both in the office and remotely. Well, that is everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Colleagues? I don't hear any questions. Neither audio nor text. Can anyone hear me? Colleagues? Okay, dear colleagues, since there are no questions, I wish you all the best. My presentation is over. I'm going to give you my contact details in the chat, should you have any questions later. This is my email address. Come with any questions concerning legal issues and the software product. And see you shortly.